Why is it that the people we try hardest to hold on to are often the ones who drift away first? It is one of the most painful paradoxes of human psychology. We believe that by giving more, showing up more, and making ourselves endlessly available, we are building a bridge, but in reality, we are often draining the very space where attraction and genuine curiosity breathe. There is a profound difference between being present and being predictable. The ancient Stoics understood a hidden law of human nature that modern behavioral science is only now beginning to prove. That value is never created through constant exposure, but through self-contained depth. By the end of this journey, you will discover a subtle mental shift that transforms how others perceive you, rooted in a single, overlooked rule of emotional sovereignty that Marcus Aurelius used to maintain his absolute focus amidst the chaos of the Roman Empire. To understand why absence is so powerful, we must first look at the illusion of constant closeness. In our modern, hyper-connected world, we are taught that to care for someone means to be a constant presence in their digital feed. We text immediately. We reply within seconds. We offer our attention before it is even requested. But when you are always there, you remove the possibility of anticipation. Think about the air we breathe. It is vital, life-giving, and absolutely necessary. Yet we rarely spend our day thinking about it because it is always there, guaranteed and unchanging. It is only when the air becomes scarce, or when we step into a different environment, that we truly appreciate its presence. Human connection operates under a very similar law. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When you react to a growing connection with desperation, frantic texting, and absolute availability, you quietly signal that your time has no value. You become a permanent fixture, easily taken for granted, and ultimately forgettable. Imagine, instead, a man who does not make another person the absolute center of his universe. Picture him waking up with a clear sense of purpose, dedicated to his craft, his mind, and his daily discipline. He does not place anyone on a pedestal because he understands that a pedestal is a lonely, unstable place for anyone to stand. When your entire life revolves around seeking someone else's approval, there is no mystery left for them to explore. There is nothing for them to chase and nothing to wonder about. By continuing to pursue your own goals, your hobbies, and your personal evolution, you create an entire world of your own. A woman is far more likely to feel a deep sense of longing for a man who is actively building a meaningful life than for one who is simply sitting by his phone, waiting for her to dictate his mood. This is not a game of coldness or calculated indifference. It is about being genuinely complete on your own. When you have a life that excites you, others naturally want to step into that orbit. They want to be a part of your world, not the entire world itself. This brings us to a common trap that many modern men fall into, a phenomenon we can call the digital detective mindset. Have you ever caught yourself analyzing the precise timing of a text response, or trying to decipher the hidden meaning behind a brief social media update? It is an exhausting way to live. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When your mind is constantly consumed by anxious analysis of someone else's behavior, your inner peace is completely shattered. You become anxious, reactive, and easily read. But when your thoughts are colored by a calm dedication to your own path, you project an entirely different energy. You become grounded, present, and magnetic. A man who does not overanalyze every digital cue is a man who trusts his own worth. When she sees that you are emotionally secure and not easily shaken by a delayed message or a busy evening, she begins to respect your quiet confidence. Let her wonder about what you are doing, rather than spending all of your precious mental energy wondering about her. Seneca wrote that true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future. When you stop analyzing every micro-movement of another person, you free yourself from that anxious dependence. You become self-contained, and that self-containment is incredibly rare in today's noisy world. It invites others to step closer, to want to discover the quiet strength that keeps you so steady. There is a common misconception that keeping a connection alive requires a nonstop stream of communication. Yet, psychology suggests that attraction, much like a fire, requires oxygen to burn. If you pack the wood too tightly, the flame suffocates. Giving someone healthy space is not about playing mind games. It is an act of trust. It shows that you trust the strength of the bond enough to let it breathe. It allows her thoughts to naturally drift back to you when she is quiet, remembering the conversations you shared, the way you laughed, and the calm perspective you brought to her day. If she knows you will be there at every single second of the day, there is simply no room for anticipation to build. Give her the opportunity to feel your absence, because it is in those quiet intervals that appreciation is quietly born. As Epictetus wisely observed, no great thing is created suddenly. The deep emotional investment that leads to a lasting bond is no exception. It is built slowly, in the spaces between your interactions, when you choose to step back and trust the flow of life rather than trying to force and smother it. Consider what happens when you do spend time together. Do you leave a lasting impression, or do you simply pass the time? One of the most powerful ways to remain in someone's mind is to expand their world. Teach her something new. Share a unique perspective on life, an interesting historical story, or a useful skill you have mastered. People naturally remember those who help them grow and see the world through a broader lens. When you associate your presence with positive intellectual growth and new discoveries, she will think of you long after the conversation has ended. Your value is not just in your presence, but in how you enrich her mind. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that we have power over our minds, not outside events. When you share knowledge, you are not attempting to control her feelings or manipulate her opinion of you. You are simply sharing a genuine piece of your soul. And that authentic sharing is what leaves an indelible mark on another person's memory. If you have made it this far, what comes next is the part almost nobody gets right. Everything before this was preparation, but this is where the dynamic actually shifts. We live in an era of cheap attention. Social media has trained us to constantly seek instant validation. Sometimes, a person will post a photo, share a story, or put out a vague update simply to see who will react first. It is an invitation to play a game of superficial attention. An anxious man rushes to double tap, to comment, and to validate immediately. But a man of Stoic discipline does not rise to every digital bait. He shows emotional sovereignty. This does not mean ignoring someone out of spite or playing childish silence games. It simply means that your attention is not a cheap commodity that can be summoned with a single notification. When you show that your daily happiness does not depend on collecting digital crumbs, you stand out from the crowd. You show that you are grounded in reality, not in virtual validation. This leads us to the delicate balance of communication. If you are always the one to initiate every conversation, to send the first text every morning, and to suggest every plan, you never give the other person the chance to invest in you. Healthy connections require a mutual exchange of energy. By stepping back and allowing her the space to reach out first, you give her the opportunity to realize your place in her life. When she starts making an effort to contact you, It is a sign of genuine, active investment. It is no longer just a passive response to your pursuit. It is a conscious choice to bring you into her day. Ultimately, the men who leave the deepest impressions are not those trying to perform mystery. They are simply busy creating lives that are genuinely worth living. Keep improving your physical strength, your intellectual depth, your financial stability, and your emotional resilience. Explore new places, read challenging books, and build a community of high-value peers. When your life is dynamic and fulfilling, curiosity naturally follows. You will no longer have to try to make someone think about you, because you will have become the kind of man who naturally stays on their mind, a man of purpose, confidence, and quiet independence. Remember the timeless words of Marcus Aurelius. Focus on what is within your control and let go of what is not. You cannot control another person's heart, but you have absolute control over your own mind, your own growth, and your own character. When you stop chasing validation and start building a life of profound substance, you will never have to force anyone to miss you. Your absence will be felt naturally because your presence is a gift that brings genuine value to their world. Thank you for walking this philosophical path with me today. If these words brought you clarity, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a comment with your thoughts, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Stay strong, stay grounded, and keep building.